Hi, and welcome to another installment of Pediatric Dermatology Research Alliance's Getting to Know You series. I'm your host, Jen Dawson, and joining me today is Randy Coe. Randy is an MD PhD candidate at the University of New Mexico School of Medicine and also a Pediatric investigator. Thanks for being with us today, Randy.
Thank you, Jen. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, Randy, you and I got to get to know each other at Peter's conference last year, but it would be great if you could tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you became interested in pediatric dermatology and research.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm here. I was born here, raised in Albuquerque, New Mexico. My parents are first generation immigrants from China and Hong Kong, and I'm also a first generation college student. And when when I think about when I first got interested in dermatology and also this new insight into pediatric dermatology is because when I started shadowing Dr. John Durkin here at the UNM School of Medicine Department of Dermatology, I just saw me in the patients because I suffered from severe cystic acne going through high school early on in the year. And in particular, I'm happy to share that, I think acne is a miracle medicine, and it cleared all of my acne and lifted any possible depression that I had at that time. I don't think I knew, but I'm pretty sure I did. And that's probably what it was. And I just loved what my dermatologist did for me because I had lost a lot of hope. And I think that after being treated and being seen by a dermatologist that really cared about what I was going through and told me to take that leap, that's how I got interested in dermatology. And I really got interested in research in undergrad and specifically with dermatology after being able to observe some dermatology research in China because
Wow.
I met somebody here at the Society of Investigative Dermatology conference here in New Mexico back in 2014. And so Professor Zhang I'd met him here, and it was a serendipitous event. I was able to do research and collaborate with them over there, and I continue dermatology research here.
What an experience from having your own personal struggles with dermatology and then being inspired by somebody who treated you so well and helped you through those struggles to then doing research in China. I mean, that is so cool. What a journey you've been on so early in your career. So with all that in mind, what brought you to Pedra?
Yeah, no, so ever since I started here at the UNM School of Medicine, I got in touch with Dr. John Durkin from Dr. Amy Smith, and we had been investigating the use of reflectance confocal microscopy with pediatric patients, and we found that it really is helpful for the tolerance of the kids being seen in the dermatology clinic, and it's non-invasive. And I think when kids get distracted, you could distract them with their own phones or their own toys that they bring. And so we went and presented that to Society of Pediatric Dermatology in Austin. And I saw your guys' presentation near the end of the conference, and I just loved it. I knew I definitely want to be involved. And I thought to myself, I wonder if I can get involved as a medical student. And Mike Siegel, who is the executive director, was just so welcoming. And so I got involved then. And then I even went and saw you guys at Chicago last year.
I remember it was so great finally being able to meet you in person in Chicago. And I've just from the instant I met you, I could really feel your energy and your passion around pediatric dermatology. So it's been great having you in the network. I know you touched on this a little bit in the first question, but what drew you to medicine in the first place?
Yeah, I think that experience that I shared earlier, but not only that, a lot of New Mexicans here, and specifically like my dad, got me interested in medicine because of his own health problems and going to those healthcare appointments. He would, so often, like, I feel like my dad wouldn't understand what was happening for his medical conditions. And I feel like also he didn't necessarily understand a lot from the physicians themselves. And so I and then I even just learned in medical school that you can have a translator, um, you know, to make sure that the patient has good understanding. And it's just crazy the things that I'm just learning in medical school, what's available. And for me, I think being a doctor is not only about taking care of the patient, but making sure you're listening to what issues that they have and validating them. And then when like a patient doesn't show up, calling them, hey, are you okay? Did you have transportation to your appointment? I think those are all really important values to have as a physician. And so those are all things that kind of encompass a little bit why I want to be a physician, being exposed to it as a younger adult, coming and going with my dad's appointments at the hospital. So
I love that advocating on behalf of your father's health is what inspired you to become part of medicine. I think that is so valuable. And I think you'll carry that through all the way to your patients. And they're really going to feel like you're a doctor who's advocating for them, which is such an important part of the relationship. So
absolutely.
one thing I want to know at this point, I know you're fairly early on in your schooling, but so far, what's the best piece of advice you've ever received?
Okay. Yeah. The best piece of advice I've ever received is it's kind of like got a couple takes on it, but actually it kind of stems from my father too. So
Mm,
um, my dad told me to always take a chance no matter how small a percentage, no matter how many 0.000 there's a one at the end. And he
mm.
told me that you should always try because there's always a chance that it'll work out. And so for me, it was when I was applying, to medical school or other opportunities, etc. You just never know unless you try. So I always throw my ticket in the hat and see kind of what happens. And rather than doubting yourself, all they can say is no, right?
I love that philosophy so much. And I think that's so cool that your dad was able to impart that wisdom. My dad did the same with me. And there's always been this like, go ahead, leap, the net will appear. You've got to make it happen. And I think that's so important in just all of our lives. So I think that's really cool that your dad has inspired your greatest piece of advice so far. Okay, so one last question, and then I'll let you go. What do you do when you aren't studying?
Yeah, I really enjoy working out. I think it's a really great stress reliever for me. And also, I when we were talking about high school, I was overweight at the time, so I really take fitness for my own health. And then also, I really enjoy spending time with my wife and my dog, and just with my family in general. And when I also have like even more downtime, I used to play a lot of video games, and a little gaming never really hurts to enjoy. But other than that, I really like outdoors activities like hiking and snowboarding. The season's just coming around, so.
That's so great. Randy, your story is one of transformation, and I just love that. I feel like you're going to bring that into your careers with such incredible passion, and I'm so thrilled that you're a part of Pedra's network. Thank you so much for joining us on Getting to Know You today, Randy.
Well, thank you for having me.